Hey guys, as promised, here is part 3 of the series. In this video we're going to look how I created the rest of this piece and how you could use my process to create your version. So with no further ado, let's dive right in. One of the most time-consuming aspects when drawing is when you have a big area to cover with solid black. As I mentioned in part 2, I will link this video in the description below, there are no shortcuts. That is when you are using just a pencil. However, there are a few tips that helped me, and I'm going to share them with you. First, instead of building up this area from grey to black by using multiple different pencils, I used just the mechanical pencil. I explained why in part 2, but in short, it is because the 2B lead I have in my mechanical pencil can achieve values even darker than an 8B pencil. Now, how do I do that? My hand motion is circular. I'm not pressing hard as to indent the paper. I focus on my circles to be small and tight, so I can feel the tooth of the paper as much as possible. I turn my pencil frequently so I can use the sharp point of the lead. The sharp point of the lead gives me precision, so it also helps to feel the tooth of the paper. As you can see, I'm very careful to cover the area I'm working on well first, and then continue on to the next area. I like to divide my area in smaller sections to ensure that I cover it completely. This is one exception where I do not jump around. I focus on completing it before I go on to a different part of the portrait. Once I pass through it once, I go over it with my soft brush. I do this because even though I am very patient and careful, and even though it seems the tooth of the paper is full of graphite, it is not. What we have is a lot of graphite that is just sitting on the surface of the paper, covering any imperfection. If I were to blow air on it, or even lift my paper and shake it, all this graphite would fall off, revealing gaps and white speckles. Instead, I will use the soft brush to push gently the excess graphite into the paper without damaging it. This will instantly do two things. One, it will cover the paper smoothly and will give me a solid look, and two, will drop my value a little bit. The area will be a little bit brighter. That is why I will pass through it again with my graphite. This time it will be easier to cover the area, and I will not have to put that much graphite on. After that, I can continue my work. Now, you see me covering the piece with a white paper whenever I need to touch it with my hand. This is especially essential for areas that have really dark values. That is because these areas have a lot of graphite that fill the tooth of the paper to the top, so it can easily be transferred if you're not careful. Even the paper you put on top can transfer some, so be careful. If you can, you should leave areas like that at the end, so you're safe during the rest of the piece. As I am right-handed, I usually start from the top left and finish at the bottom right. I do not mean that I am drawing like a printer, but I have it in mind and I do not jump around unnecessarily. It helps a lot. In this particular portrait, the fingers were one of the last elements I drew. As it happens, one of the most difficult as well. But as with everything, you need to be very observative. Softly and very slowly build up your values. In this case, I had almost completed the portrait when I was drawing the hand, so it was straightforward, and I went straight in with the correct values from scratch. However, in other cases, I come back to the hands at the end to make sure they are in the right value. Now, Once I completed the piece, it was time to go and find all the inconsistencies. At this stage, I look at the reference photo to find any areas that need corrections in terms of values, proportions, and shapes. And then I try to see my work critically, to see if I am transferring my vision. This is subjective, I know, but I do it because many times I have removed or added things during this stage to help me get the message across. Even the smallest correction can make the difference. For example, just a few millimeters added on lips can determine if the subject is smiling or is sad. So you can imagine how important this step really is. When I decide that my work is done, I apply a coat of protective material and store it in a safe place. Whoa! By one sentence, I gave 3 ideas for future videos. When is a drawing done? How to apply fixative? And how to store pencil art. Let me know in the comment section below which one of these subjects would you like me to do first. Before I end this video, I want to quickly talk about how I came up with this piece. I was inspired by Anya Taylor-Joy and her performance on Queen's Gambit on Netflix. I thought she had a very interesting face for a portrait, so I quickly started searching online for a good reference. I could not find exactly what I wanted, so I collected a few reference images that helped me create what I wanted. I wanted her to have all the elements of her character we see in the series. One of the most important one is the rebellious state she was in at the end. The expression of that was that special makeup under her eyes, so I photoshopped that in. Also, by my partner's suggestion, I used a chessboard as a piece of her clothing in order to include that in the portrait. But the most important change I made was her eyes. In the original picture, she was not looking at the viewer. By changing her eyes to look at the viewer, I changed the whole feel of the piece. I created tension and gave a clear path for the viewer's eye. From the eyes, to the lips, to the chessboard, and then the viewer is free to notice everything else. I could be talking for days about composition and editing techniques, but I would like to have your feedback for that. Would you like to see something like that? Would you like a tutorial for editing software like Photoshop or Affinity Photo? Let me know. That's it for today, guys. If you like this video, please subscribe and be sure to check the time-lapse video I made for this piece. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Peace!